I cannot and I will not recant anything against conscience. For to go against conscience, now he means my personal will, to go against what I want, my own selfish will, is neither right nor safe. Here I stand, I can do no other. Right? So help me God, Martin Luther. So Martin Luther and German nationalism are inextricably linked. It has been argued that Luther's message was not for Christendom, but for the German people. For he was not a Christian, he was first and foremost a German. That quote comes from, this is Vina, I've read the book. Yeah, Martin Luther, Hitler's Spiritual Ancestor. A very interesting read, actually, really interesting read. So, now, so Luther considered himself the prophet of the Germans, and he literally spoke of himself as a prophet. I've covered that in depth, and I will do again in my upcoming Luther series. And he says, I am the prophet of the Germans. I will act as a faithful teacher, and I will get 100,000 of you slaughtered if you go against the big guys who pay me lots of money and made me rich, because my name is Martin Luther, and I like the princes and not you smelly peasants, and everyone should kill you. That was Martin Luther. I have been born for my beloved Germans, and for them I will die, although I have no problem getting 100,000 of you killed. So anyone who disagreed with him, he called into question their patriotism and refused them the right to be called a German. You disagree with Martin Luther, you're not a German, you're a bad human, 99999. Some have argued that Luther was not the champion of freedom and liberty after all, but rather he was the voice of Germanism, which dreams that in matters of religion, culture, government, and race, the Germans should be the master of mankind. Heck, have we heard that? Was there a guy called? There's a guy called Hitler that says something like that. German supremacy? I wonder. So understand, I'm not going to go back to every source that I said. Download the paper, go look at the sources yourself. But what I want to indicate is that there is a story about Luther that we've not been told. A story that is well known, well documented, but has not been shared openly, because it would utterly destroy the reputation of Martin Luther, as well as undercut the Protestant religion. The history of the Protestant religion is, to put it bluntly, a joke from the history that I've seen. So yeah, so there you go. So that's a fascinating. So okay, now by listening to Germans speaking in the streets and combining a variety of dialects, Luther created a new, distinct language for all Germans, and thus earned the label the father of the German language. Right? So Luther created the modern German language. He aroused in the people not only a new Protestant vision, of Christianity with a fervent German nationality, but he taught them, at least in religion, the supremacy of the individual conscience. Let's have a look at that. That's Jim Walker, Martin Luther's dirty little book on the Jews and their lies, a precursor to Nazism. So yeah, that's Jim Walker, Martin Luther's dirty little book on the Jews and their lies, a precursor to Nazism. Fascinating. But this is true. Remember, I have discussed this at length in the past. Martin Luther simply did state that every Christian in his conscience is his own church and his own pope. That means you have 1 billion churches and popes if you're a Protestant. That means you are personally, privately, your own theologian, you make up your own theology. So in religion, you have the supremacy of the individual conscience. That makes you a mystic and makes you a Gnostic. It does not make you Christian. So Luther used religion for his own ends. Yes, Just Janice, that's a very fair point. I would agree with that, yes. So, okay, so centuries since, you say this is crazy. So tell me more about what's crazy. I'd like to, like the comments. So, oof, my mom heard what I'm listening to. Her comments are ridiculous. So, yeah. So guys, look, if you like what I do, please do subscribe. Do share the material, do give it a like, to spread this to other people, do support the channel. Of course, I'm not making friends by making the content that I'm making. What I do is highly contentious. What I do, unfortunately, is, upsets people. These are the facts. This is what I believe we can most distinctly validate from historical sources, from genuine historical sources. This is the side of history we've not been told. This is the whole truth, not the massaged truth that we've been lied to about. So, now, Martin Luther's nationalism stemmed in part from the fact that the Germans were despised by other nationalities. According to conversations recorded by John Schlagenhaufen, You'll find a lot of those in Luther's works. Remember, I have the entire Luther's works series. Thanks to my audience, I was able to buy the full Luther's works in English. I have the entire series of 58 volumes. It cost like $380. So thank you very much for that, everyone. We are able to look at this. These are the official historical records of Martin Luther. So he was one of the young men who lived in Luther's home in the 1530s. Luther believed that no nation was hated as the German nation. Italians referred to Germans as beasts, and all the other nationalities mocked them. During a dinner conversation in April 1532, Luther was quoted as saying, "Who knows what God intends to do and will do with the Germans, though in God's eyes we've undoubtedly deserved a beating." Neil D says, if not for Lloyd, I would still have a Walt Disney version of Luther in my mind. Yeah, thank you. So, Luther's own opinions of Germans was more favorable. He argued that the way Germans spoke was indicative of this, and the German language was the most perfect language of all. Arabic is the perfect language. Therefore, we must write the Bible in Arabic. German is the most perfect language, and therefore we must write. I know someone's going to say, well, Luther wrote the very first non-Catholic Bible that wasn't in Catholic Latin. And bullshit. So, yeah, that story's going around a lot. Anyway. Okay, and he said it's most likely because of the resemblance to Greek. Okay, whatever you say, man. So, the problem is that Luther rejected a whole bunch of biblical books because they were found in the original Greek and not in Hebrew. So, yeah, whatever, Luther. Did the Anglicans exist? No, they did not. The Anglicans came much later. I'm a Catholic and curious to know what Luther. No, the Anglicans did not exist at the time. They were Catholics. England was Catholic. So, okay. So, let me see. Oh, he spoke of Germans excelled all other nations in this regard in marital fidelity and all that. But we'll skip all this. This is not important. Okay. So Luther was shown to us as a great man fighting for freedom, tolerance, independence. The man who exclaimed, "Here I stand, I cannot do otherwise. May God help me. Amen." Luther, the honest, cheerful, decent German who fought a corrupted, immoral Rome. Luther, honored by Protestants everywhere, the hero of Germany and the Protestant world. A terrifying, dirty, dishonest Luther appeared. A Luther much blacker and more hideous by far than all his opponents taken together had depicted him. So that is in Hitler's Spiritual Ancestor. Okay.